William T. Sherman was born on February 8, 1820 in Lancaster, Ohio, and died on February 14, 1891 in New York City, New York. William was a United States Major Union General. He began the Civil War as a colonel. He served in the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. He was granted recognition for his outstanding command for military strategy after the end of the war. Sherman and Grant believed the only way that the war would end was if the Confederate strategic, economic, and psychological capacity were destroyed. Broken railroads that Sherman troops heated over fires and wrapped around tree trunks became known as Sherman's neckties. War is the remedy that our enemies have chosen, and I say, let us give them all they want. Sherman began his career in the Civil War with this battle in Virginia during 1861. Sherman was a colonel during this battle. He was eventually recognized because of his place in the First Battle of Bull Run. Abraham Lincoln recognized Sherman's efforts at the Battle of Bull Run and promoted him to the brigadier general. It was below major general but above colonel. He was also ranked 7th among other officers in his grade. There is many a boy here today who looks on war as all glory, but boys, it is all hell. Sherman wasn't prepared for a responsibility as large as being a general. He became unstable and newspapers labeled him as insane. Sherman asked to be east of his position and his request was granted. Sherman had beliefs that he was being set up after the newspapers labeled Sherman. He also believed after he was relieved of service that he was a failure. Generals William T. Sherman and Ulysses S. Grant were the two major generals in charge of the Union's armies in the Battle of Shiloh. The Union won the Battle of Shiloh. Grant stood by me when I was crazy, and I stood by him while he was drunk, and now we stand by each other.
After the siege of Vicksburg, Joseph E. Johnston sent in reinforcements to try and win back Vicksburg from the Confederacy. Abraham Lincoln sent Sherman to prevent Johnston's reinforcements from being effective. Sherman won what was known as Jackson's Siege. Sherman was most well known for his march to the sea in the year of 1864. For over a month, William T. Sherman led his men through Georgia from Atlanta to Savannah. The march was 285 miles long, and here's our reenactment of his march. Sherman's hopes for the march were to terrify the civilians of Georgia into abandoning the Confederate cause. As Sherman and his troops marched through Georgia, they destroyed houses, barns, and fields of people who tried to fight back against his march. The Northerners were not fighting hostile armies, but hostile people. In response, Sherman had said, "Make the young and old, rich and poor feel the hard hand of war." In the end, he traveled back north through the Carolinas. Courage, a perfect sensibility of the measure of danger and a mental willingness to endure it. Following Sherman's march, him and his troops went north into the Carolinas. They were cut off from supply lines, so Sherman's troops relied on foraging. As Sherman approached Columbia, he ordered important military buildings to be destroyed. Although Sherman was known for rough war, he gave very generous and forgiving surrender terms after Johnson's surrender. Sherman's terms granted general pardon and gave the Southern states immediate admittance to the Union after giving an oath of allegiance. The Secretary of War was angry with Sherman about his terms, and he immediately rejected the idea. He also criticized Sherman for being so generous. Sherman may not have been the most important person in the Civil War, but that doesn't mean he didn't do a lot to help his country in the long run.